My name is Mark Sewell. I'm the Assistant Chief Financial Officer. This item is for City Council on June the 4th, 2024, regarding an increase to appropriations and the transfer of funds from the General Fund to the State Gas Tax Fund to restore the State Gas Tax Fund balance. It is recommended that the City Council approve the transfer of funds from the fiscal year 2023-24 General Fund operating budget to the State Gas Tax Fund in the amount of $3.3 million to restore a fund balance deficit in the State Gas Tax Fund for prior year activity, as well as projected budgetary deficits in fiscal year 2023-24 and fiscal year 2024-25. Some background. The City of Oxnard receives an annual allocation of state gas taxes pursuant to the Streets and Highways Code, Section 2101. State gas taxes are reported in a separate fund to ensure that this revenue is restricted and used only for appropriate purposes. One of the many funding sources available to the City for streets and right-of-way, state gas tax is currently in deficit. As of June 30th, 2023, this deficit is $2.8 million. It is anticipated to grow to $3.3 million by June 30th, 2025. Staff recommend a one-time transfer of $3.3 million from the General Fund in fiscal year 2023-24 to correct this fund deficit. Future budgets from fiscal years 2025-26 will be adjusted to balance to the anticipated gas tax proceeds. There are three main reasons for the deficit in the State Gas Tax Fund. Firstly, in 2017, new legislation at the state level introduced the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Act. The City of Oxnard reported the revenues from that act commingling with the original state gas tax until fiscal year 2019-20, when it decided to create a new fund to be able to split the RMRA and state gas tax proceeds appropriately. During this time, more revenue was transferred out to the RMRA fund than expenses, leaving behind a deficit in the State Gas Tax Fund. Secondly, in fiscal year 2019-20, City Council approved a refunding of some debt allocated to the State Gas Tax Fund. This had an impact on the fund balance in fiscal year 2019-2020, although it has an ongoing saving of about $400,000 annually in debt service. And finally, differences regarding the city labor recharges. A number of staff are allocated to the State Gas Tax Fund to provide services and provide labor in support of streets and right-of-way projects. Recharges for this labor was lower than was budgeted, creating a shortfall in the fund. This slide shows a number of fiscal years and the revenues and expenditures reported in the State Gas Tax Fund. Table 1 shows the revenue and expenses as booked. Table 2 shows those same revenues and expenditures, but takes out the effect of the refunding of the debt in fiscal year 2019-2020. And Table 3 shows the restated Sales Gas Tax Fund, stripping out the RMRA revenues. You can see for each year, revenues have been less than expenses, with the exception of one fiscal year. As mentioned, state gas taxes provide a funding source for streets and right-of-way projects. These proceeds reduce the need for general fund dollars. Transferring from general fund now resolves a negative fund balance in time for the end of fiscal year 2023-24. It would also provide sufficient fund balance until June 30th, 2025, based on current projections. Staff will review the expenditures and revenues and ensure that balanced budgets are in place for fiscal years 2025-26 and beyond. It is recommended that the City Council approve the transfer of funds from the fiscal year 2023-24 General Fund operating budget to the State Gas Tax Fund in the amount of $3.3 million to restore a fund balance deficit in the State Gas Tax Fund for prior year activity, as well as projected budgetary deficits in fiscal year 2023-24 and fiscal year 2024-25. Thank you. That concludes the presentation.